I wanted to talk about Google Plus for a while now, and they recently added a bunch of really neat features in their photo section that I just feel like I couldn't sit on any longer, and I had to talk about. This is just going to be a very brief overview of some of these new features and what you can do with them, what they might mean for future developments. I'd love to come back and talk a little bit more in depth at some point in the not so distant future about Google Plus and where it could go. But right now I'm going to move over to my Photos tab. So I just moused over home down to Photos, and that pulls up any photos that I have loaded into Google Plus. Now I've got two Google accounts, my own personal one where all my photos go, and then my camera rec one, which we're in right now, and fewer photos end up in here. One of the really nice things that I like, if you have a mobile device and you're running the Google Plus app, you can automatically have all of your mobile device photos, as soon as you take them, back up to Google Plus. And if you haven't turned that on, and unless you're really a battery freak, I think you should turn that on because it's a really nice feature. What we're looking at here are some raw files that I've uploaded to Google Plus. And now you say, well, wait a second, raw files. And this is one of their new features, that they will take raw files from a variety of cameras and create JPEG copies of those that you can then edit online. So in a way, it's loose. You're not directly editing the raw file, but you do have the capabilities of editing a raw file. You see what I'm saying? So for a long time, one of the reasons to shoot JPEG has been so that you can edit it anywhere, anytime, hand it off to somebody, no worries. Well, now you can basically do that as long as you have access to a computer connected to the internet, which it's pretty hard to go places these days without that. Granted, there are some, but it's harder. And so you can throw raw files right up on Google for a handful of selected cameras. Those selected cameras, we've got a bunch of Canons, including the 700D, which is T5i, the 7D, 5D Mark III is on here. The 70D is not on here yet. I haven't tested. It may just work anyway because it might be similar enough. It might not. We've got a bunch of Nikon, including D5200, D600 is in there as well, D3200, a bunch of Olympus, Panasonic, Sony. Really, they've done a pretty nice job. Is every camera here? Absolutely not. Remember, a raw file is a proprietary file from that camera manufacturer, and so there's always a little bit of lag before everybody gets their hands on the conversion material that will allow them to translate that to something else. I imagine they will be adding cameras fairly quickly. Now, one of the things that's really nice is this is all coming from NIK Photography. A while back, Google bought NIK, and NIK is an editing suite that is very robust, very nice. That's something else I'd love to talk more about in the future. Just need to find time for myself to play with it. It is not free, but there is the Snapseed app that I've talked about before that I run on my Android phone and tablets, and I love for editing photos. Very simple, but still quite powerful. And that's actually what Google has added in to their editing now. So you could throw up a raw file, you could throw up a JPEG file, and it will give you an editable version. So let's just click one of these files and open it up. Here it is. First thing I can do, first it gives me all the little information. I shot this with a D5200. That's interesting, actually. I thought I shot this with a D7100. Oh, I know. This was before the Lightroom happily opened D7100, so where there was this metadata hack where you had to lie to it until it was a D5200 file, and then it would open it up. Kind of quirky. They fixed that. Okay, so if I click Edit, what pops up over here on the right is, if you've used Snapseed or you've watched my other video where I talk about editing in Snapseed, identical controls, and I mean completely identical. And it's very easy to use. Now, remember, you are not actually editing the raw file, so you don't have as much control and as much latitude as you do when you edit a raw file, but the tools still work quite nicely, and for all of this being in your browser and for all of this being free, it is quite nice. Now, we have our Customize button up here, where we can really kind of go in, and this looks similar to a kind of simplified Lightroom version with our little sliders controlling our brightness, our contrast, our saturation. So right now it just enhanced this photo for me, and you can see what it did. So it bumped the contrast, saturation up a little bit, brought the shadows up, warmth, and structure, which is kind of our clarity or our sharpening. And if I hold down on this compare button, there's the original, there's the new. Original and the new. So you can see that it looks a good bit better. And not a drastic change, but these are the kind of changes I appreciate. So I'm just going to say apply. And I'm going to say done editing down here in the bottom right corner. So, and it saves that changes. You can go back, similar to Lightroom. These are non-destructive changes. At any time I can go back into that file and say, please give me my original back. I've decided that I want the low contrast muddy version back. And now I can click the little X button up here in the top right corner and it's done. Notice that there's a little check mark up here that lets me know that it is now the enhanced version. So that is different. Let's go over here to this one in the bottom right. I'm going to open this one up and I'm going to click the edit button and I'll just show you a couple of these tools. So really all we did then was enhance, auto enhance, watched what it did. And then we're going to tune this image a little bit. Basically do what it did, but on our own. So we could bring up our shadows a little bit. Let's just drag it drastically so you can see that difference. Watch that kind of mural in the foreground go from dark to bright. Brighten that up a little bit. We'll make it a little warmer maybe. And I like that there. We also have these little thumbnails here that let you go through and real quick just pick one of them, but I'm not going to choose one of those right now. Now, the selective adjustment is pretty sweet. So I'm going to collect the selective adjustment. This is, and again, similar to Lightroom, and of course Snapseed has this exact tool in it, allows you to set a control point that you are then adjusting only that area. So I'm going to click add a control point, and if you notice my sky right up here in the top right corner, a little bit closer to the sun, is a little bit more muddy and contrasty, and look at this blue sky here is nothing like the blue sky over here. So I'm going to click up in this area to add a control point, and I got these little flyouts that allow me to adjust the size, brightness, contrast, and saturation of this control point. So first let's check our size. I click and it shows the red, and you can see as I drag to the left, makes it smaller, or to the right. And notice that it's not a hard edge. This is a soft feathered edge, so these adjustments will feather themselves out and look very smooth across the image or the area of the image you're affecting. So this brightness, let's lower this just a little bit here. So I'm just dragging to the right, and you can see that thin red line filling up in that circle there. Not sure if that's the way I wanted to go. Contrast now, let's increase our contrast a good bit, all the way. Notice that that really now sets this defining line here between the sky and the clouds. It's a little bit more like our blue over here. And now if I click on my saturation and bring that to the right, I should be able to bring a little bit more blue out of that sky until that's too much. Be careful. I have personal opinion here, but I really have an issue with oversaturated images unless they're presented in a very artistic manner. If you're trying to be realistic, I don't like oversaturated images. So I think that looks pretty nice, or nicer. I could add another one down here, and if I wanted to take more time, I'd do that. But I think you get the idea. So there's control points, and you can add another control point. So I can come down here, and I can click in this area, and I can add my contrast and bring out those shadows in there, and I can add my saturation and bring up the blues in that area there a little bit. But again, be careful not to look unrealistic. I'm going to click apply. Now I notice that we're a little crooked here. I'm seeing just a little bit more roof at the bottom. I'm going to click my crop and rotate and click straighten here first, and I should be able to just drag this slider just a little bit, and that looks good. And I'm going to say apply. It might be a little bit crooked in the other direction, but you get the ideas now. And I'm going to sharpen a little bit. Just let's use our, let's say sharpen and structure. I'll only take one or the other. So now I can just increase my sharpness here just a little bit. Watch out for over sharp images, especially if you're about to put them up someplace on like Facebook as well, because they will look very sharp very quickly. And then I'm happy with it. So I could say done editing. And then of course you can share these out to other places. They're easy to share out to Google+. It's just a couple of of clicks and add captions and add locations. All of this is built right in. So I'm really happy that they've added these photo editing tools to Google+. The other neat thing they do is if you upload a series of images, they'll automatically GIF it. This actually isn't an example of that, but it is a GIF, and you can see that they are playing that GIF right there. So there's a lot of slick things that Google Plus has started doing now, and I will be back to talk about them more, but I just wanted to share the two big features that I think are really nice. Is one, you can throw raw images up and then edit a JPEG copy of those, so you don't need specialized software all around. And two, the fact that these editing tools are very slick now, very easy to work with, and quite powerful, and it's very similar to my favorite app, Snapseed. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions about using Google+, Snapseed, editing raw photos, Lightroom, all of the kind of things that I've touched on in this video, you can leave a comment down below, or even better, come over and find me on Facebook. It's a little ironic, isn't it, talking about Google Plus and asking you to find. But that's where I've built up my community, and at some point, maybe we'll move to Google Plus, but for right now, I'm enjoying the large group of folks that I'm working with right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day.